Trump is unlikely to extend the ceasefire as deadline looms. Now, the U.S. and Iranian talks seem to be on track in this 11th hour, as they have received word that Iran is going to be sending a delegation to arrive on Tuesday. So while the world waits, I want to draw your attention to this heat map behind me. It paints a holistic picture of the IRGC's developments in the areas of concern that the U.S. government has been focused on, and it starts from 2010 and goes all the way to 2026. And those areas of concern are as follows: money assets received from international channels, nuclear material enrichment, ballistic missile capability advancement, ballistic missile inventory growth, drone advancement, drone number growth, and proxy growth. And on the right side, it has the heat depicted from 10 to 100. Zooming out, you get a holistic view of the growth of these categories. Some areas of note is that this is the Obama administration, where they gave the $104 billion worth of assets and actual liquidity to the IRGC. That coincides with this very dark period of nuclear material enrichment development, as it basically came to a pause. Keep in mind that JCPOA only focused on nuclear enrichment. It did not account for these other categories, which were allowed to grow, which was a part of the larger problem. Also worth noting that after 2023, which is about right here, as you can see, they are the strongest across the board, and why they showed themselves to be an existential threat, not just to the region, but to the world, as we are now seeing Operation Epic Fury unfold, and you can see the results of Operation Epic Fury here. Now, this heat map was put together by ChatGPT utilizing open source material, or OSINT, using only primary sources and reputable news agencies to get this heat map of this holistic picture of the threat of the IRGC. And so I hope this heat map paints a better picture as to why the IRGC were an existential threat to the global order, the economy, and an imminent threat in the case of attacking military bases. This is the period at which they were strongest in their entire history, and so we had to go in and ensure that they were now the weakest they have been in their entire history. And even that last part of the statement isn't necessarily true. When you look at these numbers, it's very comparable to probably what was right before the deal, and so we've basically knocked them back by 10 to maybe 15 years if we're lucky. Now that we see how risk adverse that everyone really is, it's actually even more of a threat. They actually never needed a nuclear weapon to impose their will on the world. They pretty much only ever wanted it, not for regime survivability, but to destroy Israel. Because right now, their capability to simply scare a couple ships and threaten the closure of the strait without actually producing any mines, while saying they've actually put mines in the water, the fact that they can completely shut down shipping based off of words, that is truly a threat that cannot go unanswered. One extra data point that you're probably unaware of is that intelligence analysts inside the government, inside the military, create graphs similar to this all the time to better paint the picture, the threat environment for commanders to make a decision. So it's highly likely that senior officials and advisors were using similar graphs depicting similar information to assist Trump and his advisors into making the decisions necessary, because this clearly shows the severe threat that the IRGC had grown into and that they had to be dealt with.